Hey guys, it's Amara. I am here and I'm in Seattle today, although this is Amara not in Seattle. I've never talked to you guys on this channel. Oh my gosh. That's why I look like I might be considering vacation and or am Carmen Sandiego. Hiding better. Maybe I am Carmen Sandiego. Not improbable. If you don't know me from the other two channels, that's Amara in Seattle, the main channel where we do lifestyle and adventure, and Amara in Seattle vlogs. That's like DVD bonus content, a little bit of everything else. Everything else. Just got done with Vita over there. You guys know, traveling rock stars know. As much as I can, I do a fair amount of traveling because travel is near and dear to my heart. One of the things I want to do with this channel is share tips and techniques and ways that I have found that help me travel better so you all can travel better and have great, wonderful experiences meeting people and building community, which is something that I love and something that I've been luckily doing a lot this year. Today's video is about where to stay. When you go traveling, where do you stay? When you first are thinking about staying somewhere, especially if it's a major city, the downtown, you probably think that's where I want to be, right there in downtown. But in truth, sometimes it makes sense to be other places. Consider the idea of staying outside of the downtown area. It can be relaxing, it can be cheaper, you can have a more local experience. There's a lot of reasons to consider staying away from the downtown corridor of a city. What you really have to consider is why you want that location. What does that location offer you? Another thing to consider is if you are in an area for an event. Like I recently was at VidCon Europe and I stayed honestly a good probably 40 minutes away from where the convention center was. I didn't stay in downtown Amsterdam, I didn't stay where the event was, I didn't stay between them, I actually stayed further away. And that means that I had to consider a lot of things. The cost was really good for where I stayed because I was so far out of downtown and away from event centers, which are often very expensive because they're used to having a rotating group of people coming through, tourists, people coming to conventions, etc. There's all the pros to staying away from like a downtown center or convention space or an event space. One of the things you really have to consider when you choose not to stay in those hubs is transportation, and that can be a big deal. Are you going to have access to your phone? Are you going to be able to look up local trains and planes and automobiles or whatever you're going to need to get between places? Is that something you are going to be able to access? And you need to check with your phone company and figure out whether that's the case beforehand or if you need a special SIM card or something like that. The other thing to consider is if you're going to stay away from the points where you are intending to be, are you going to have to lug a whole bunch of luggage somewhere? That can be dangerous because it identifies you as a person who's traveling and possibly has a lot of money. And more than anything else, the luggage thing is it can be a lot to carry with you. It's no fun to be dragging a rolly bag down cobblestone streets in a beautiful old area. Loud, it's obnoxious, it makes you feel really like focused on. It's not a great experience. So you really want to think about transportation and luggage when it comes to where you're going to stay. Another thing I really like to consider after I've kind of thought through the location question, how fancy? How fancy do I want to go here? The idea of staying somewhere that is beautiful and opulent and has wonderful down pillows and you're going to sleep like an angel every night. But there's also the consideration of how much time are you actually going to spend in that space. It's really nice to envision somewhere that's nice and opulent and has like wonderful pillows and like beautiful televisions and amenities through the roof. That's a really wonderful way to travel if you're going to use those things. I rarely end up actually having that much time I want to spend in my hotel room unless I plan to have like hotel room parties where I have friends and people who come through hang out in like an opulent space, or if I'm on a vacation where I need to be working out or I want to be working out. I rarely use a lot of the amenities that are offered to me when I travel and I stay at high-end places. Sometimes you stay at high-end places because they're convenient to where you need to be, again, around convention centers and things like that. However, you really want to consider those things, like how much time are you going to spend sleeping in a room? Is it worth it for you to spend money on a colossal bed when you're only going to be by yourself sleeping there for a couple hours because you're going to be at a convention all day long and every night and networking after that? Would it be better to have less money put into the hotel room and more money put into these other things like having nice meals or drinks or going out with friends or experiencing tourism that you can do there? Maybe there are like boat rides or things like that that you wouldn't be able to do because you've been spending money on this nice fancy hotel room. So consider the opulence issue, and of course the more opulent a place is, usually the price tag goes up with it. So more fancy pillows, more fancy price tags. Sometimes it's worth it to consider less fancy pillows, less fancy price tags, buy one to have at home where you're gonna sleep and use it more. Just saying. Fanciness question really centers around what am I going to be doing in the place? Is it a romantic place or want to feel like really extra special or cozy? That makes sense. Maybe you want to spend money there. But if this is a place where you're gonna be dropping your luggage, running off, like I think about this in Japan where I was just dropping luggage and wanted to go right out back into Japan, that might not be the best place for me to spend lots of money. I could be spending it out in Japan. We talked briefly about amenities, but let's talk about some of the specific ones. Bikes. When you travel in Europe, and often in a lot of places actually, there's an opportunity to like rent a bicycle, or sometimes at Airbnbs that's an option. You need to consider whether or not that's something you want to pay extra money for. Are you going to use a bicycle? You might. If you're in Amsterdam, you might really want a bike because it's part of the culture of people who live there. So that might be a really good way to have a nice cultural experience. But if you're not a person who's comfortable biking, do you want to shell out extra money to have the option to say yes to that? Workout spaces, that can mean a lot of things. At a fancy hotel, it can mean that there's a private gym there, or that there is a workout lane in the pools. There's a place in Portland I stayed once where you got access to a gym that was nearby as a result of paying to stay at that place. The options are often varied in terms of workout stuff, and you can always consider whether or not you actually need a workout. Every time I go to San Antonio, I love having there be a workout space because I go for PAX for a big convention, and I often find that I'm, eating convention food, feeling kind of sluggish. I don't necessarily move around as much as I'd like to, so I really enjoy having a workout space for after hours. So that can work out really well. However, if you're paying extra for a workout space and you're doing something like when I stayed in Austin and I was walking everywhere, even if I had a workout space, I might be tempted to use it, but I didn't really need it because I was doing so much walking, miles upon miles of walking. So really consider how distant are the things you're going to be going to, how much is working out going to be important to that trip. Are there workouts you could do without a gym in the space you're going to be in anyway? Things like that. Another extra that can come with lodging, if you use it correctly, is travel help. Often at big hotels, there's a concierge desk or even a travel person that's there to help you out with what are fun things to see in the city, things to do. However, that also exists with couch surfing and Airbnbs. You have a host or someone you're in contact with that lives in these places or knows these places and often can make really good recommendations there. Specifically with like an Airbnb or a couch surfing situation, you can also get really detailed information about what's in the area nearby that location. So that can be really helpful. It's not necessarily as helpful with a hotel. Often hotels have relationships with other tourism organizations. Sometimes they're kind of given a little extra to push you at a certain tour. So you have to kind of take that stuff with a grain of salt. Stuff like food suggestions, less likely to get kind of kickbacks. There is opportunity with all of these kind of resources to also build in an extra friend. Like maybe if you have a really good relationship with the person who has the Airbnb or who you're couch surfing with, you might actually get to have a really nice cultural experience too. And there's some kind of thought you might want to put into the value of having that as part of your vacation. I had a really wonderful like cheese tasting in Paris one time when I was couch surfing at someone's house, and I've also had really wonderful conversations like I did in Amsterdam when I was at an Airbnb there. Suggestions, just thoughts there. Another thing you want to think about tangential to the transportation issue is shuttle. If you are staying somewhere and you're coming in via an airplane, it's really nice to know how you're going to get from the airport to wherever you're going and what the timelines look like for that. So you also want to consider, does this hotel have like a shuttle service that comes out of an airport? Does this Airbnb have really good directions on how to get from the airport to where you're staying? Or are you going to kind of have to figure that out yourself? Some people are a little jarred, particularly with international travel, and need a little bit of adaptation time. Think about the process of getting to where you're going to be. I don't really consider my travel part of my journey done until I get to the location of where I'm sleeping that first night. The reason being, I like to consider that whole process as part of travel because there's the possibility that you're going to get lost. There's the possibility that you're going to need to do other things. I try to set myself up really well, particularly when I'm traveling internationally. There's nothing quite as hard as trying to do the, oh, I'm in a new culture thing alongside the, I don't know where I'm going to be sleeping tonight, or I don't know where this place is that I'm staying. Also, try and stay calm with stuff like that. Things work out. People usually end up where they're going, like in general. Like in general while traveling, try and stay calm. Try and stay calm. Stuff is usually pretty okay. So those are just some basic thoughts about lodging. I hope all of you have wonderful travels you're going on. I'm about to go get lost in travel myself. Probably not going to take this hat though, because it's a lot to pack and I hate that rolly luggage. Don't like it. I hope you're having wonderful trips wherever you're going or where you're staying, or if you're reading about travel. I like to do that when I can't go everywhere. If you guys have learned interesting things about lodging locations when you're traveling, please leave those in the comments below. I'm always learning more about travel and I love learning it from you Rockstars, my traveling rock stars over here on Amara, not in Seattle. Also, if you have anywhere you'd like to see me go to, let me know in the comments below. And what is one of your favorite amenities when you choose to go travel? I really like it when there's a gym, just personally. I don't know why, but if I'm traveling and there's a gym, I almost always decide I'm gonna go run or like elliptical machine for a little bit. It just gets my bearings back, and sometimes it gives me a good mental space to like digest what's going on as a part of like the madness that traveling can be. So that's me. You're you. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for setting down your luggage and hanging out with me a little bit, traveling rock stars. I'm off to get lost in travel. Amara, not in Seattle.